I mean, great get, by the way. Bravo. Point is simple. Back to Dr. Waleed Fairs. He's saying they're getting evidence. Then he was asked about what he said about a month ago, saying the U.S. should not go to war in Syria. And if he stood by that, because he said 3 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, we had an opportunity, but we no longer have the resources that are set up. So Dr. Waleed Fairs is suggesting, no, don't go to war with the regime. And in order to set up a place, well, let the doctor say it. Roll it.
We were present in Iraq. Everything we'd like to take around Syria today to take some action against the regime, we had it already. But when we withdrew from Iraq, the Iranians through Iraq were able to connect with Assad and are providing him with everything he needs. And Hezbollah from Lebanon is moving also and fighting with Assad. So the difference between 2011 and today, in 2011, Assad was completely surrounded, isolated like Gaddafi was. Today, if we want to take action against Assad, we'll be confronting Iranian regime, Assad's friends in Iraq, and Hezbollah. That's why it's a much bigger decision today than 3 years ago.
Yes.
It seems to me that the most possible thing we could do with less cost would be to establish a small no-fly zone over a small area of security for the people who are fleeing. This would be the basis for another operation if we have a much wider consensus internationally speaking.
That was a clip put together because I took out the questions and put them together for if you were wondering, but it did not change the context of the answers. Now, bottom line on this, when you have a status of force agreement that Biden blew, when we won Iraq in essence, and then we lost it, Bush won it, Bush administration and his policies won it through the surge, President Obama's policies lost it. When you had those resources in place, that's an idea. When you do not, no. And what he's suggesting is we get some resources in place, but we carve out a little time, it sounds like, with putting up a very small area where people can flee to who do not want to be a part of this war. But it goes to, who do we support? We've got al-Qaeda, and we've got Assad, and, of course, we have the Free Syrian Army over here, but elements have come together, rebel forces, rebels, so to speak. So what do? This is why we continue to not withdraw from the world, because there are consequences to that. This is why there's a difference between invade and do nothing. It's identifying leaders that share our values and working with them, not publicly, behind the scenes, organizing if they need to be. That's part of it because it deals with our national security. As Jay Carney said today, the use of chemical weapons and the international breaking of that code, well, that does impact our national security. So a lot there, a lot to get to. Now, David Axelrod, among others, have been suggesting that the opposition party, that would be the Republican Party, are trying to delegitimize the president. We heard Chris Matthews speak to this earlier. On the flip side of the break, we're going to have an exchange from Ted Cruz and his conversation with Candy Crawley, Howard Dean, potential opponent of Ted Cruz in 2016 in the presidential, and some of the things you've been hearing. We will start off with what David Axelrod has to say about people trying to disagree, who disagree with the president on policies, legislatively and otherwise, that are trying to delegitimize them. Is he telling the truth? Bottom of the hour, we're going to take your calls because the rodeo clown has spoken, and we'll get your thoughts on that. And then Phil Jennings, Politically Incorrect Guide to the Vietnam War, the truth about Vietnam. Brain Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on Say It With Me Now, AFR Talk.